Alright guys, what's going on? So today I wanted to talk about EVO with Mortal Kombat and how Mortal Kombat has been seen or how it's done over the years at EVO. So I've pulled up a bunch of numbers and statistics, just basically looking at how if this has been a reoccurring thing, because obviously right now Mortal Kombat 11 has left a bad taste in most people's mouths, and I just want to see basically if my point about Mortal Kombat is correct, how this game really appeals to the casuals and is built in a way where it can be enjoyed on a casual level, and if it does the complete opposite for competitive. And I've said it before, as a casual game, Mortal Kombat has always been great. It's always been great, and that might be why I enjoyed it so much as a kid. Fighting game with a really fleshed out story, loads of cool characters, loads of cool lore. But when it comes down to the core fighting game mechanics, I just felt like NRS, Midway, whatever, they don't quite get it. I don't think they're not really there. And this, I feel like the EVO numbers reflect what the competitive world feels about Mortal Kombat, and that's because EVO is the biggest stage. Like it's where the best fighting game players, the most competitive ones, will go for a chance to win big prizes. So we've got the Mortal Kombat, we've got the EVO 2011 numbers. Now the 2011 numbers, unlike the rest of the numbers, is a bit sketchy because it's quite old. I don't think they have the correct numbers, but anyway, I'll show you what they are here. So if you take a look, you've got Mortal Kombat 9, Tekken 6, and MVC 3. Now at the time, I believe Tekken 6 had already been out for quite a while. Tekken 6 was not positively received by the competitive scene. I remember Bob, Law, and Steve were pretty much just dominating that game, and yeah, it was quite old at this point, I believe, because I'm pretty sure Tekken Tag 2 was on the horizon around that time. So there were dwindling numbers from there. Mortal Kombat 11, 2011 is the first year it came out. Now, for a new game, that is really poor. 500 plus. You're not far off Tekken, which had been around for a while and it had a new version on the horizon. MVC 3 obviously did well for that time. So if we use this as a starting point, MK9, which is beloved by a lot of Mortal Kombat players, both old and new, it didn't do well on the competitive circuit for the first year. For its first year back at EVO, because it had been away from EVO for a while, this is not a good look, and that's coming from a game that people like. So let's move on to 2012. So as you can see here, the biggest game was, it looks like Street Fighter. Street Fighter is the biggest game there, which is not surprising. Street Fighter has always sort of dominated EVO. But if you look down at Mortal Kombat, those numbers are shocking, absolutely shocking. It got lower entrance than Street Fighter Cross Tekken, which was really not positively received in its first year, and Soul Calibur, which has a very small scene in itself. Mortal Kombat got 304 entrants. Now this is Mortal Kombat 9's second year at EVO. I'm not sure that a game in its second year at EVO should be dwindling that much. It's essentially dropped to what Tekken had dropped to, and Tekken 6 was a dying game, because Tekken Tag 2, I believe it came out in 2012. So that's really telling of what the competitive scene feels about Mortal Kombat and the Mortal Kombat scene itself, because let's not forget, of all those games on there, Mortal Kombat is one of the highest selling. When it comes down to sales and how many people have Mortal Kombat in their household, people have Mortal Kombat in their household, make no mistake. It's very popular amongst the casuals for obvious reasons. So it puts into perspective that people don't take it to the next level. They don't take it that seriously because of the way it's designed. Mortal Kombat 9 itself, even though there are things I like about Mortal Kombat 9, I stopped playing it myself because it's just not fair. The way the game is built is irritating to play. So if we move on to 2013, there are now 2 NRS titles there. You've now got the brand new Injustice, which has just recently been released around that time, and you've still got Mortal Kombat 9. Now if you look at Mortal Kombat 9, its numbers once again have dwindled considerably. 233 people is really small. Now at the time, Tekken wasn't doing too great either. Tekken Tag 2, although I loved it, competitively was frustrating to play. But you know, this isn't about Tekken right now. We're just looking at Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat is the lowest on the list there, and it's only been two coming up 3 years at that time. Injustice was brand new at that time, and it was unable to top the top 3. That's a decent show for an NRS title though. Injustice was a decent showing. 582 for NRS. That's good. It's not good in the grand scheme of things, but it's good. It's all right. So if we're focusing solely on Mortal Kombat, okay, fair enough. There's a new NRS title out in 2013. Of course, most of those players are going to focus on the new one. However, again, Mortal Kombat has never had a strong showing at EVO, and this is just another case of it. And then if we look at 2014, from what I can see here, Mortal Kombat is no longer there. Mortal Kombat has been taken off the EVO lineup. I'm assuming because it probably got lower numbers than Tekken Tag 2, which again is you know, those are poor numbers. But Injustice is amongst the bottom ones, so it's got 311 in its second year, which again, it's very telling. The competitive scene, they're not too invested in NRS games because they know they're just a bit of a mess. They're a bit silly, and again, this is a very telling story of the history of NRS when it comes to the competitive scene and what players think of them. And EVO aside, if you look at, even if I bring up other tournaments, this is a very common trend. The only one that breaks it, or the only two that might break it, are CEO and Combo Breaker, but maybe not CEO, maybe just Combo Breaker. Okay, now, so we go into 2015 where Mortal Kombat X had just been released. That's a solid showing by MKX. If I'm not mistaken, that might be the best showing that Mortal Kombat ever had at EVO, but I guess we're going to find out in a minute. 1162 for Mortal Kombat is good. Solid. That's a good number. I'm not sure they ever reached those heights again. So let's see what MKX looked like in its second year at EVO. Right, so in 2016, MKXL came out, which was the updated version. It had more characters and just more content in general. It was a good update. But the numbers have dwindled again. So Mortal Kombat has an issue with retaining numbers. 713 isn't bad though. It's not bad. I feel like MKX really did draw a lot of people in. People just drawn to how the game played. So those numbers for Mortal Kombat in its second year, not bad at all. So it's been a bit shaky, but MKX is sort of redeeming things here. And then we move over to the 2017 roster, and if you notice, like one of the weirdest things I've noticed about EVO recently is Tekken 7 started off very small. It's just continued to grow and grow and grow. It's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. But if you look, Mortal Kombat's no longer there. There's no Mortal Kombat. Injustice 2 is now there. I think Injustice 2 had just come out around this time. So 883 is not a bad showing. I would say that's pretty solid for Injustice. It's not bad. It's a shame Mortal Kombat never made it back there, especially because the previous year it didn't do bad numbers. So I would actually be interested to know how many people signed up this time. I mean, the numbers have always been mediocre. They've never grown. So one thing that you can notice with some games on here is that their numbers grow sometimes. Sometimes they start out a bit small and they grow. With NRS games, they never grow. They've not grown once yet. So let's move on to 2018. So 2018, I'm assuming it was the last year Injustice 2 was seen at EVO, and as you can see, a major drop off in numbers, which, you know, people always say that Mortal Kombat has a very, very difficult time, and I suppose Injustice have a very difficult time retaining players past the first year. And that might be why they bring out a new game every 2 years. Obviously, it is probably because they sell so well, so why wouldn't they? I hear that 100%. But if you look at Tekken, for example, again, it's boosted. It's gone into the top 3. Shout outs to Dragon Ball Z, man, absolutely killing it. But look at Injustice's numbers, 363. It's not a good showing. And then I suppose we only got 2019 to look at. So let's see what they're doing there. So Mortal Kombat 11 has come out in 2019. I believe, yeah, it was 2019 it came out. It's his first year. And it lost to Samurai Showdown. It beat Unist by not very much. Dragon Ball FighterZ had a considerable drop off. But that's not a good showing for a game that has only just come out. Tekken 7 once again boosted its numbers. It's reaching Street Fighter 5, which I've never seen the game go from very, very small numbers to massive numbers like that. So they're obviously doing something right. But Mortal Kombat's numbers have never been good, and outside of 2019, we go on to 2020. EVO is most likely cancelled because of the coronavirus. However, as we all know, Mortal Kombat was not announced for EVO 2020. There was a big uproar when this happened. A lot of people in the NRS scene were saying that EVO has always treated Mortal Kombat very poorly. They're never on the main stage. Now, if you look at those numbers, I believe outside of maybe 2011, because they don't have all the numbers on there, Mortal Kombat has never broken the top 3. Barely got into the top 4 most of the time. So I'm not sure why it deserves to be on the main stage. The numbers dwindle heavily, and outside of treatment at EVO, because obviously I don't work there, they may be treating NRS poorly, who knows. The numbers tell a story. The numbers tell us that players don't stick around for NRS games. Why do you think that is? Because NRS games are extremely frustrating to play. They look cool, they sound cool. Well, they used to sound cool. I don't know what's happened to the music recently. But they've got cool story modes. Even if you don't like MK10 and MK11 story modes, they are cool. They are better than most other fighting games. MK11 functions well online. They've got all this content, even though the skins are a bit like, I don't know what the hell's going on there. In terms of gameplay, they cannot retain players, and that's because the mechanics are not deep. The games tend to be very repetitive. They tend to be very... They heavily favour one side. It's normally offense, and then when they finally add defensive mechanics in, it's just too much. Like, there's not a good balance in Mortal Kombat now, and players get annoyed. So I thought I'd show you these numbers, because I do feel like the numbers tell a story. I definitely feel like the numbers tell a story of how people feel about Mortal Kombat. And I feel like NRS needs to change their formula up, because it's not working. On a competitive side, let me just make that clear. On a casual side, it's 100% working. It sells like hotcakes. It probably always will. But if they want to retain a competitive audience, if they don't want people on YouTube to be shitting on their game so much and giving it bad press, then there needs to be some sort of change. But yeah, guys, that's all I had for you today. I just wanted to show you guys the EVO numbers if you weren't aware, and how Mortal Kombat sort of dwindled over the years. MKX was its peak, and hopefully those things change in the future. If EVO does go forward this year, MK will not be there, and maybe that's a lesson that NRS can learn. They need to learn how to retain players, because they are that's one of the biggest things. They are really poor at retaining players, and it also comes down to their communication with the scene. NRS's communication with the scene is not good. It's not good at all. We don't need more characters right now. More characters is not what this game needs. What this game needs is a system overhaul. And by the way, just before I go, people have asked me in the comment section, and some friends that watch my videos asked me, if you're talking about Mortal Kombat, why are you not playing it? As I've explained previously, I can't bring myself to play Mortal Kombat 11 in its current form right now. I don't own MKX anymore, but I might pick it up just if people want to see me play that game. I used to play Scorpion, the Inferno variation. You usually would see Ninjutsu and Hellfire, so you might see something different. But I'm just, I don't want to be one of those YouTubers that forces themselves to play a game just to please other people. I wanted to do YouTube because I enjoy it. It was never really about the money or getting views or subscribers or whatever, although I appreciate all of you so much because you've helped my channel grow. And even though I'm still small time on YouTube, it is growing. We are getting an audience, so I appreciate all of that. But I'm not going to force myself to play a game I don't like. The reason I talk about it so much is because I like Mortal Kombat as a franchise. I grew up on Mortal Kombat, and I don't want Mortal Kombat to one day not be here. The reason I put the videos out is because I feel like, if I put this energy out there, where I'm not trying to like poke holes in Mortal Kombat for the sake of poking holes in them. I'm trying to get the message across that what's happened with MK11 is disappointing, because I remember being at the press event. I remember being there on the open day in Camden, and I remember how excited I was. And I remember when I played the game, I was like, okay, they've changed it up. Like, I was excited. The game looked beautiful. I was like, okay, this could go somewhere. And so the feeling of disappointment is what I'm trying to express in my videos. But At the same time, I'm not going to force myself to play the game, much like I said to catch up. I'm not going to force myself to play the game. If I feel like playing it, I'll play it, and that's the gameplay you'll see in the background. But a lot of the time you're going to get random games now. It'll be mostly Tekken, but you'll get some Uncharted, you'll get some One Piece, you might get some Blair Witch Project because I just downloaded that. You might get me playing PT because I still love playing the Silent Hills game. And if you guys have any games in particular that you want me to cover and you want me to talk about, I'm more than happy to buy them and give them a try. We've got season 4 of Tekken coming out soon, so I'll probably be talking about that. Although it's not confirmed, it's a rumor right now, but given the way things are going with Tekken, you can probably guess that season 4 is coming. But yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on that because some people have been asking me, why don't you put Mortal Kombat 11 in the background anymore? I've used up all the footage that I had on Mortal Kombat 11. I played it for a good year. If you look through my channel, there's loads of gameplay videos. There's hours upon hours, hundreds of hours actually of gameplay on my channel for Mortal Kombat. I don't have any more footage. I don't enjoy playing the game anymore. And you know, as it stands, the only purpose that MK11 serves is to be spoken about in hopes that season 2 of MK11 is much better and they take the Dragon Ball Z approach and they overhaul it. Or Injustice 3 or MK12 hopefully learns lessons from MK11. But yeah, anyway guys, thanks so much for watching, thanks for subscribing, thanks for your comments. I always read your comments, even if I don't agree with them, I always heart them. Just because I appreciate all the love and support. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.